Hope this finds you doing well. Happy New Year to you as we are recording this on the last day of 2023. We're going to talk a little bit about the current cryptocurrency market and what we can look forward to ahead in 2024. It's been a pretty good year here in 2023 when it comes to the cryptocurrency market. We've definitely seen an uptick compared to 2022. And could the trend continue in 2024? Well, let's go ahead and check it out. Starting off with Bitcoin, it's currently trading at $42,596. It's up about 0.25% over the last 24 hours. Ethereum at $2,200.97. And it is currently down just a tad at 0.38% over the last day. As we continue to go down in the top 10, Solana is up a little bit at $104 after having its rise over the past couple of weeks. And it's still climbing. And then you can see Cardano currently at number 8 trading at 60 cents. Avalanche at $39 coming back down a little bit from the $45 range or so. And Dogecoin still hanging in at the top 10, currently trading at 9 cents. So let's take a look at Bitcoin and what it's done over the past couple of days, past couple of weeks and months, and over the past year. As you can see here, it's kind of flat basically over the past day. Over the past week, it's down about 2% at 2.46% over the last 7 days. And as you can see, over the past month, Bitcoin has gone up nearly 10% over the past month, having a positive month to end out the year. And as we can see here, over the past year, Bitcoin has more than doubled, going up over 156% in the last 12 months. So if we look at the crypto bubbles here, we can see that the cryptocurrencies that have done extremely well over the past year has really been a few newcomers onto the list into the top 10. We have Bonk, which is a Solana blockchain meme coin. It did over a 50x at 5,264% over the past 12 months. Solana, as you can see here, one of the now top 10 coins, has done very well, doing 9x, or I should say really a 10x, doing over 951%. Injective, which is another smart contract platform, has done really well and has come into the forefront over this past year, has done over 2,000%. Render, which is an AI-based token, has done very well. IMX, which is Immutable X, which is a gaming blockchain. It's a layer 2 platform on top of Ethereum. So you can see here that a lot of smaller and mid-cap coins did a lot of huge jumps over the past year, and many people are speculating that it could continue going into 2024, particularly when it comes to layer 2 blockchains on top of Ethereum, other smart contract platforms that are layer 1s, as well as some coins that are related to gaming and artificial intelligence. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that going into 2022. As you can see here, Bitcoin, one of the smaller to medium-sized bubbles, did that over 100% rise over the past year. Avalanche did fairly well as well. So we'll definitely keep an eye out to see what those next coins are going to do going into 2024. And will we continue to see these trends with Solana-based tokens doing well? Stacks is a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin, which is a scaling solution for people who are trying to transact on Bitcoin. Or will we see even more cryptocurrency coins that we have no idea that could come out of the woodwork and get into the top 100? So let's go ahead and take an overall look of the overall markets when it comes to equities compared to cryptocurrencies. As you can see here, the S&P 500 did very well over the past year. It was up nearly 25% over the past year, and that is definitely improvement on what it did in 2022, where we had a down year. And compared to Bitcoin and the NASDAQ, which is heavily tech stocks, Bitcoin beat them by a mile. You can see Bitcoin, as we have mentioned several times now, is up over double over the past year, outperforming the S&P and the NASDAQ by a wide margin. So that's why many people are saying, especially now that the large institutions are looking to get into Bitcoin and applying for Bitcoin ETFs, it's now showing that Bitcoin is becoming a legitimate asset class, and it behooves many investors to consider getting into cryptocurrencies, if anything, Bitcoin, because it is outperforming these major indexes and basically has done so since its inception. So it may be wise to potentially consider getting into Bitcoin, even if it's just a 0.5% or 1% allocation, because it still is a very risky asset. So you want to make sure you do your research, do your due diligence. We're not providing financial advice, but it is something to consider because you can't argue with the returns when you compare it to some of the major indices in the equity markets. If we look at Bitcoin proxies, you can see MicroStrategy did very well as well. They are one of the largest holders as a publicly traded company. It continues to buy more Bitcoin. It is now over $180,000 worth. Or I should say, they have over 180,000 Bitcoin now in their treasure chest, and they're currently trading at just over $600, and they are up over 300% over the past year. Some of the other Bitcoin miners have done very well, particularly over the last couple of months. As you can see here, there was a pretty large rise since the beginning of November. Bitcoin miners went on a tear. You can see Marathon was at around $3.50 or so at the beginning of the year and is now trading at $23. It actually got up to $30 earlier this month. They're one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the mining space. Riot Platforms is another large mining company that is mining a lot of Bitcoin as well. CleanSpark is another one. And compared to Bitcoin, the miners have actually outperformed Bitcoin over the past year. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on these Bitcoin proxies. So those who are not actually holding pure Bitcoin form, there are other ways to have exposure to Bitcoin through the equities market. If we look at the largest company, or the largest companies in the world that either hold Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, or even accept Bitcoin, this is another way that we can see that this is becoming more of an asset class that is considered legitimate by larger companies. It's being adopted more and more around the world, and it's being adopted by companies that are well established, so-called Web 2 companies. When you look at Tesla, which is the largest public company by market cap that holds Bitcoin, they rank number one in terms of their market cap. And you can see PayPal, Square, also known as Block, Coinbase, we talked about MicroStrategy, Grayscale, they are the largest holders of Bitcoin. They're not a publicly traded company, but they do, as an institution, have the largest number of Bitcoin out of all of these companies. We mentioned Marathon and Riot. They are mining companies, and you can see some more mining companies as we go on down the list. And then you see other companies like an Overstock that accepts Bitcoin. And so I'm sure that this list will be expanded going into 2024, especially if we do end up getting that spot Bitcoin ETF. And when we talk about the spot Bitcoin ETF, that is one of the things that could be the catalyst for Bitcoin to potentially go up in price going into 2024 and into 2025. And you can see large asset managers and investment banks like Goldman Sachs is already speculating on what could happen as what they call the Cointucky Derby goes into 2024, and they make price predictions on what could happen in some of the top cryptocurrency coins in the top 10 from Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, amongst others. So when you're starting to see some of these larger institutions speculate on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as an asset class, that just goes to show that they are keeping an eye on what's going in this particular industry, and they're now looking to buy in as well. Many of them, you can't believe, unfortunately, what they say in the public, because what they say is obviously not the strategy necessarily that aligns with ours as retail investors, because a lot of times they're doing things on the sidelines or behind the scenes that we don't know about, so they can get a leg up to line their pockets. An example of that is the JP Morgan CEO, Jamie Dimon, who recently came out several weeks ago and said that he was concerned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and that he was basically opposed to it and believed that it was the only true use case for criminals. And if he was a government, he would shut it down. But we just recently learned that JP Morgan is actually a part of BlackRock's proposed Bitcoin ETF, and they could potentially play a key role as an authorized participant. So he's out in the public saying that Bitcoin is hyped and it's used for criminal activities, which is true, I'm sure, but so is fiat currency. The US dollar is used and has been used for decades and hundreds of years as a means for criminal activities. But for him to go and say that about banning Bitcoin, and then the next thing you know, we are learning that they are considered an authorized participant in what could be an upcoming ETF related to Bitcoin, it's obviously showing some hypocrisy there. So just make sure you delve deeper when you're considering getting into investing into cryptocurrencies and just anything in general. You want to make sure you don't just go off what people say in the media, off what they say in the public. You can't believe everything that you see, everything that you hear. You have to delve a little bit deeper to have a better understanding of what's going on. So if we just go back quickly to the largest companies by market cap, you see that Apple, of course, is on top, nearly $3 trillion. Microsoft doing quite well as well now, nearing that $3 trillion mark as well. And if we put Bitcoin amongst the top 10, it's currently trading at around $830 billion right now. So that would put it just above Tesla at the number 8 spot if we put Bitcoin in this list. So we can see that Bitcoin is starting to really gain traction. And when you compare it to some of the largest companies in the world, it is right there ranking in the top 10. So we'll definitely look forward to see what it does going into these next couple of years and what could be a large bull run, because not only are people speculating about that Bitcoin ETF, but we're also looking forward to what is the Bitcoin block reward halving, where the mining rewards are going to be cut in half from 6.25 coins per block to 3.125. So these miners who are making Bitcoin through mining, and they're mining using their mining rigs, their reward is going to be cut in half. So they are going to rely even more on transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. But they've actually done quite well because Bitcoin is becoming more popular. There's more transactions that's happening on the blockchain. And so they are making money and continuing to producing revenue given those transaction fees. So as we can see here, and just look at the quick chart, just in terms of the history of what happens to the Bitcoin price after the halving. The first halving was in 2012, and you can see this meteoric rise that happened after Bitcoin halving. And then the second halving, which was in 2016, it generally happens basically every 4 years. That's why the Bitcoin halving chart is showing that it's probably going to happen around April, maybe May of 2024. And so in 2016, you can see there was once again another very high rise in price after the second halving. Then you come back down, have a little bit of a bear market for a year or so, maybe 2 years, and then you start to climb back up as we speculate into the third halving, which happened in 2020. And we had looks like a rising, and now we're going into 2024, which is going to be the next Bitcoin halving, and we could potentially have another meteoric rise. So here we don't get to see where it went up to, when it went up to about $69,000. So it's probably up in this range if we continued on the chart in 2021, and then we came back down. So now we're getting ready to go into this fourth halving. So there's a lot to look forward to, particularly in the cryptocurrency market. And Bitcoin is the boat that is the tide that I should say rises all boats. So we'll definitely continue to keep track of what's going on with Bitcoin. We're going to keep you posted. We're looking forward to what's going to happen going into 2024. Please make sure to check us out on Instagram and X. We post there nearly every day. We're going to keep going. We're going nonstop here on YouTube as well with our weekly videos. We hope to be able to provide you some important and relevant information as you continue to learn more about this emerging tech. And we are not only going to be talking about Bitcoin, but other emerging technologies, because we believe in the future. And if we get in early and learn now, we definitely could potentially have a great future ahead of us. So once again, Happy New Year to you. Wishing you all a lovely day and week and month and year going into 2024. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your support, and we look forward to bringing more to you next time on the Network Chain. Bye-bye.